November 17th, 2022, Daily Bread. Passage, Deuteronomy chapter 16, verses 1 through 17. Key verse 16. Title, The Three Festivals. Observe the month of Aviv and celebrate the Passover of the Lord your God, because in the month of Aviv he brought you out of Egypt by night. Sacrifice as the Passover to the Lord your God an animal from your flock or herd at the place where the Lord will choose as a dwelling place for his name. Do not eat with bread made with yeast, but for 7 days eat unleavened bread, the bread of affliction, because you left Egypt in haste, so that all the days of your life you may remember the time of your departure from Egypt. Let no yeast be found in your possession in all the land for 7 days. Do not let any of the meat you sacrifice on the evening of the first day remain until morning. You must not sacrifice the Passover in any town the Lord your God gives you, except in the place he will choose as a dwelling for his name. There you must sacrifice the Passover in the evening, when the sun goes down, on the anniversary of your departure from Egypt. Roast it and eat it in the place the Lord your God will choose. Then, in the morning, return to your tents. For 6 days, eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day, hold an assembly to the Lord your God, and do no work. Count off 7 weeks from the time you began to put the sickle to the standing grain. Then celebrate the Festival of Weeks to the Lord your God by giving a freewill offering in proportion to the blessing the Lord your God has given you. And rejoice before the Lord your God at the place he will choose as a dwelling for his name. You, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, the Levites in your towns, and the foreigners, the fatherless, and the widows living among you. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and follow carefully these decrees. Celebrate the Festival of Tabernacles for 7 days after you have gathered the produce of your threshing floor and winepress. Be joyful at your festival, you, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, and the Levites, the foreigners, the fatherless, and the widows who live in your towns. For 7 days celebrate the festival to the Lord your God at the place the Lord will choose. For the Lord your God will bless you in all your harvest and in all the work of your hands, and your joy will be complete. 3 weeks a year all your men must appear before the Lord your God at the place he will choose, at the Festival of Unleavened Bread, the Festival of Weeks, and the Festival of Tabernacles. No one should appear before the Lord empty-handed. Each of you must bring a gift in proportion to the way the Lord your God has blessed you. Daily Bread Message. The 3 festivals were central to Israel's worship practice and in establishing their identity as people of God. On these festivals, they were to present themselves before God at the tabernacle and later the temple. They were to bring free will offerings and to rejoice before God. The first festival is the Passover, which summoned the 7 days of the Festival of Unleavened Bread. It would celebrate to remind the Israelites that God had delivered them from the slavery in Egypt with his mighty hand. The Festival of Weeks was a feast of thanksgiving to God for the harvest of wheat. The Festival of Tabernacles was celebrated at the end of the harvest, and they would live in booths for a week. They were to celebrate these festivals appearing before God 3 times a year. They were to reflect on God's saving grace and faithful provisions, to give thanks to God, and to have a joyful feast. Christians are to come together each week to pay honor and give thanks to Christ for his saving grace and provision. We are also to have joyful feasts together with fellowship believers before God. Moreover, we are holy pilgrims traveling together to the heavenly kingdom to celebrate the eternal feast with Christ. Let each of us bring a gift of praise and worship his name and rejoice before the Lord. Prayer. Lord, help me to remember what you have done and offer thanks to you. One word, remember and celebrate.